Hey everyone, ready to dive deep into the world of Bullet Train Explosion? Released on April 23, 2025, this film has sparked endless discussions, and today, we're uncovering every thrilling detail. If you enjoy this deep dive, don't forget to hit that like button. It really helps us grow. And for more incredible movie explorations and hidden gems, subscribe to the channel. Now, let's unravel the magic behind this cinematic masterpiece. On April 23, 2025, a cinematic event raced onto the global stage with the power and precision of a bullet. It was Bullet Train Explosion, a gripping Japanese thriller that took an old idea, supercharged it, and launched it into a modern age of storytelling where heart, tension, and technology collide. From the moment the first trailer dropped, anticipation built like steam in a pressure valve. And when the film finally hit Netflix screens around the world, it delivered not just adrenaline but something rare in the landscape of disaster films: emotional depth and cultural reflection. Directed by Shinji Higuchi, a name synonymous with bold, grounded spectacle thanks to his work on Shin Godzilla, Bullet Train Explosion is not simply a remake of the 1975 classic The Bullet Train. Instead, it reimagines the concept with a fresh lens that acknowledges its cinematic roots while firmly standing on its own as a modern thrill ride. Higuchi doesn't just recreate old tension. He amplifies it with a chilling premise that's eerily plausible in our high-speed, high-stakes world. A bomb is planted on the Shinkansen Hayabusa No. 60. If the train slows below 100 kilometers per hour, the bomb detonates. The setup is immediate, brutal, and unrelenting. But this film is not content with being a one-note race against time. It's a layered ensemble piece that weaves in drama, satire, media obsession, and the emotional toll of responsibility, giving audiences something far more nuanced than explosions and screeching metal. The magic lies in how the film marries intensity with humanity. We're quickly introduced to Kazuya Takaichi, portrayed with gripping conviction by Tsuyoshi Kusanagi. He's the head manager on board, experienced, composed, and emotionally tethered to the train and its passengers in a way that transcends mere duty. His foil is Keiji Fuji, the young assistant played by Kanata Hosoda. Fuji begins as wide-eyed and unsure, yet by the film's conclusion, he has endured a trial by fire that tests his principles and his nerve. The dynamic between them isn't just hierarchical. It's symbolic of old and new, of tradition meeting uncharted territory, of resolve learning from experience. Then there's Chika Matsumoto, played with controlled intensity by Nan, the train driver who becomes the silent heartbeat of the journey. Through her, we feel the weight of each acceleration and every life behind the throttle. Supporting characters aren't mere filler either. They're crafted with care and given space to breathe. Michiko Ono gives a quietly powerful performance as Yuko Kagami, a politician on board trying to stay composed while hiding her own motives. Jun Kaname steals scenes as Mitsuru Todoroki, a millionaire influencer whose obnoxious charisma hides a surprising arc of vulnerability. And Hana Toyoshima's portrayal of Yuzuki Onodera, a seemingly ordinary high school student, adds a raw innocence and sharp observance that brings surprising insight to a chaotic situation. What sets Bullet Train Explosion apart is that it never lets the momentum override the meaning. Even in its most thrilling sequences, whether it's a sudden braking maneuver, a coordinated rescue attempt, or a panicked system override, there's always a human pulse beneath the steel and circuitry. The film doesn't simply bombard you with action. It dares to pause. In the stillness between crises, we see passengers connect, panic, grieve, and band together. There's a scene midway through where the camera lingers in a quiet corridor of the train. No music, no dialogue, just the flicker of fluorescent lights and the rising sound of distant alarms. It's a masterstroke of tension, showing that sometimes the silence is scarier than the noise. And speaking of sound, Naoki Sato's score doesn't just accompany the film, it drives it. With pulsating rhythms and atmospheric swells, it mimics the rhythm of the train, making you feel every curve of the rails and every uptick in anxiety. There's a mechanical heartbeat to the soundtrack, a steady pulse that crescendos with each approaching obstacle. It's not a bombastic Hollywood score. It's patient, calculated, like a ticking clock disguised as a symphony. Visually, the film is a marvel of restraint and realism. Thanks to a rare partnership with East Japan Railway Company, the production gained access to actual Shinkansen units and facilities, grounding the film in authenticity. Higuchi's team blended practical effects with detailed miniatures and CGI enhancements to recreate the velocity and danger of a speeding train with remarkable accuracy. The cinematography is tight and purposeful, often claustrophobic, making the audience feel trapped right alongside the passengers. But when the camera does break free, capturing a wide shot of the train cutting through a misty landscape or hovering ominously over the city, it hits like a gasp for air. But beyond its aesthetics and structure, Bullet Train Explosion became a cultural moment because it resonated with something deeper. In a post-pandemic world still grappling with the fragility of systems and the weight of personal responsibility, the film tapped into collective fears and unspoken questions. What happens when the thing we trust to keep us safe becomes a cage? How do we measure bravery when the whole world is watching? And who becomes a hero when the odds are stacked not just against them, but against reason itself? Japanese cinema has long been known for its subtlety, its quiet confrontation of societal pressure and inner turmoil. This film carries that tradition forward while speaking in the international language of spectacle and suspense. It holds a mirror to modern Japan and, in doing so, reflects universal truths about leadership, sacrifice, media obsession, and the loneliness of accountability. It's no accident that the passengers on Hayabusa 60 include an influencer, a politician, a student, a train staffer, and a grieving mother. Each represents a thread in the social fabric, and when pulled tight, we see how fragile and how resilient that fabric can be. The film also invites comparisons to Western thrillers like Speed or Unstoppable, yet it doesn't mimic their tone. Where those movies leaned heavily into one-liners and kinetic bombast, Bullet Train Explosion finds power in precision and empathy. It makes you care about its characters not because they're charismatic or cool, but because they're human. They argue, they fail, they doubt themselves, and still they choose to act, not because they're confident, but because inaction is the only thing worse than fear. In the days following its release, online forums and social media erupted with theories, tributes, and frame-by-frame breakdowns. Fans dissected the train schematics, analyzed the timing of critical decisions, and even praised the costume design for its realistic portrayal of JR staff uniforms. Memes circulated of Todoroki's breakdown in the dining car, and emotional fan edits paired Matsumoto's silent heroism with orchestral tracks. The film had embedded itself not just in the minds of viewers, but in the digital culture that thrives on layered storytelling and emotional investment. And perhaps that's why it deserves more than just a casual viewing. It's a film that rewards attention, not with Easter eggs or plot twists, but with emotional payoff. The more you look, the more you notice. The subtle hand gestures Takaichi makes to keep calm, the change in lighting when hope starts to return, the way Fuji begins mimicking his superior's cadence in the final act. These are the fingerprints of a film made with intention. In the final moments, when the train slows at last and the tension dissipates, the passengers aren't triumphant. They're changed. The explosion may have been avoided, but something irreversible has occurred. And it's in that closing silence, that long exhale of relief and realization, that Bullet Train Explosion transcends genre. It's not just a disaster movie. It's a portrait of modern anxiety, a love letter to quiet courage, and a challenge to never underestimate the power of ordinary people under extraordinary pressure. So if you're still wondering whether to watch it or whether to rewatch it with a closer eye, the answer is yes. Not just for the thrills or the score or the craft, but for what it reminds us. That even when the brakes are failing, the world is watching, and the future is hurtling toward us. It's the human spirit that refuses to slow down. And sometimes that's all it takes to survive. The first half of Bullet Train Explosion grabs hold of the audience like a vice, building tension from the very first frame. It begins with the calming hum of a Shinkansen station in Tokyo, an everyday scene in a country where speed and precision are part of the rhythm of life. Travelers bustle about, unaware that a storm is brewing just beneath the polished surface. The camera glides through the station, focusing on the quiet intensity of the train's departure. And just as the sleek Shinkansen Hayabusa number 60 begins to pull out of the station, you realize something is wrong. A sense of dread slowly seeps into the atmosphere. The film's first pivot occurs with the unexpected arrival of an anonymous message. It's simple, chilling. The bomb is on the train. If the speed drops below 100 kilometers per hour, it will explode. Immediately, the stakes are set. What starts as a seemingly routine ride from Tokyo to Hakodate transforms into an overwhelming race against time. The audience is swept along with the characters, trapped in the high-speed metal tube with no way out. The setup is swift and brutal, and the tension is palpable from the very beginning. At the heart of the chaos is Kanzuya Takaichi, the seasoned head manager of the Hayabusa 60, portrayed by Tsuyoshi Kusanagi. Takaichi is no stranger to responsibility. As a veteran of the railway system, he exudes a calm authority, knowing every inch of the train and every protocol by heart. His role is to ensure the safety of the passengers, but this situation, this impossible scenario, tests every ounce of his experience. Takaichi isn't just tasked with defusing a bomb. He's forced to manage the panic that is slowly bubbling up among the passengers, as well as within the crew. In those early moments, his resolve is clear, but it's also tempered with the quiet recognition that this may be a battle they won't win. Keiji Fuji, played by Kanata Hosoda, is introduced as Takaichi's assistant, a bright, eager young man who's still learning the ropes. Fuji's personality is instantly recognizable. Enthusiastic, slightly naive, and determined to prove himself. When the bomb threat is announced, Fuji's initial instinct is to panic, his youthful energy twisting into anxiety. But Takaichi, with a steadiness that cuts through the chaos, takes command. He calmly organizes the crew, reassigns duties, and immediately begins to assess their options. Fuji looks to him for guidance, but the pressure starts to crack his calm demeanor. He's not ready for this. He's not ready for a life-or-death crisis that seems to defy every textbook solution he's learned. His arc, one of growth from terror to resolve, starts to take shape here, a journey that will see him move from hesitation to courageous action. As the train speeds along, the clock starts ticking. The characters are introduced in quick bursts, each with their own fears and personal conflicts, all of them now tied together by this bomb. We meet Chika Matsumoto, the no-nonsense driver played by Non. Matsumoto is a calm, methodical figure who takes no joy in the thrill of the situation, but does her job with unwavering professionalism. She embodies the weight of the responsibility placed on her shoulders, knowing that one wrong move could mean disaster for everyone on board. While Takaichi is the figurehead of the operation, Matsumoto is the engine behind the scenes, quite literally. Her connection to the train, to its mechanics, is fundamental. In the quiet moments between bursts of action, we see her exchange glances with Takaichi, a silent communication of trust and understanding. They both know that it's their hands that will guide the passengers safely through this nightmare, and the toll of that responsibility weighs on them both. The pacing in the first half is relentless, but the film never forgets the power of silence. There's a moment, early on, when Takaichi and Fuji stand side by side in the control room, watching the speedometer as the train hurtles toward its next obstacle. The sound of the train on the tracks becomes a soft hum in the background, the ticking of the clock growing louder. It's a brief pause before the chaos resumes, but it's one of the most tension-filled moments in the entire film. You can feel the weight of the decisions they're about to make. Every second counts, but they can't afford to rush. They must think and think fast. In those early minutes, the film teases us with a series of small, escalating incidents that allude to larger, impending catastrophes. The crew works feverishly to find the bomb, but it's not just a bomb they're searching for. It's the hidden presence of someone who might be watching them, pulling the strings from the shadows. The first hint of a larger conspiracy comes when the security cameras on the train show a cryptic image, a shadowy figure standing by the baggage compartment. This fleeting image heightens the tension and shifts the stakes from a simple bomb threat to something far more insidious. Who is behind this, and why? The pacing kicks into high gear with a series of increasingly frantic attempts to keep the train at its necessary speed. The film cuts between the tense control room the tight corridors of the train, and the panicked passengers. Some are unaware of the threat altogether, while others begin to panic as they overhear hushed conversations. Every inch of the train becomes a microcosm of the larger crisis. The crew is racing against a ticking clock, but the passengers, too, are racing against something more abstract: their own sense of safety, their illusion of control. In the middle of this turmoil, the film introduces us to a range of side characters who add complexity to the narrative. Mitsuru Todoroki, the influencer played by Jun Kaname, is one of the more striking additions. On the surface, Todoroki is the quintessential obnoxious social media star, always on his phone, documenting the journey, posting selfies, seemingly unfazed by the growing panic around him. But there's a crack beneath his polished exterior. As the bomb threat intensifies, Todoroki's attention shifts from self-promotion to survival, and we begin to see his vulnerability. He's no longer just a celebrity in a crisis. He's a person, like everyone else, desperately trying to stay alive. It's a subtle commentary on the way public personas can dissolve under pressure, and Todoroki's arc will evolve in ways that no one could predict. The real turning point comes when the train reaches its first major obstacle: a sudden, unexpected mechanical failure. The tension is high. Takaichi and Matsumoto are forced to make a gut-wrenching decision. Should they risk decelerating to repair the issue, knowing that it might trigger the bomb, or should they continue full speed ahead, hoping they can fix the problem in time? The dilemma is heart-stopping, the camera closing in on their faces as they wrestle with the consequences of either choice. They ultimately opt to continue full speed, but the weight of that decision doesn't escape them. It's one of the film's first moments where we truly see the toll that this decision-making is taking on the characters. They're not just fighting to stop a bomb. They're fighting their own instincts, battling against their own fear. With the tension building and the clock ticking, the film continuously raises the stakes. Each moment feels as if it could be the breaking point. The train, once a symbol of security and efficiency, becomes a claustrophobic tomb, and the audience is left to wonder if the bomb will go off before the crew can figure out who planted it and why. The first half of the film weaves between fast-paced action and quieter, more reflective moments, creating a sense of contrast that only serves to make the action sequences more intense. Every choice, every action taken by the characters matters. As the first half concludes, we're left on the edge of our seats, eager to see how the team will solve this crisis. The narrative has already set the stage for an explosive second half, one that promises deeper revelations, complex alliances, and moments that will make even the most hardened viewers question their own sense of safety. The second half of Bullet Train Explosion escalates rapidly from its already taut beginnings, moving from the tightly contained environment of the Shinkansen to a series of staggering confrontations, emotional breakthroughs, and nail-biting twists. The race against the clock continues, but now, the stakes feel more personal, more visceral. The character's growth is put to the test as the true nature of the crisis unfurls, with every decision carrying not just the weight of their lives but the lives of everyone aboard the train. As the second half begins, the tension on Hayabusa number 60 has reached a fever pitch. The bomb, which has so far remained hidden from the crew's best efforts, begins to reveal its true complexity. The crew is still in a race to find it, but now they realize the bomb isn't just any explosive. It's been rigged in such a way that it's responding to their every action, learning from their attempts to disable it. The first few failed attempts to disarm it only make things worse. With each unsuccessful effort, it becomes clear they're not dealing with a typical bomb. It's been meticulously designed to anticipate their moves, leading the crew into a deadly game of cat and mouse. In the midst of all this chaos, the deeper psychological strain of the characters begins to manifest. Takaichi, once the rock-solid figure of authority, begins to crack under the pressure. His calm resolve wavers as the passengers' mounting panic intensifies. He's not just struggling with the mechanics of the bomb anymore. He's struggling with his own emotions, his guilt over the possibility of failure, and his looming sense of responsibility for everyone aboard the train. This internal conflict gives Takaichi a depth that elevates his character beyond the typical action hero. His vulnerabilities are laid bare, revealing the human heart beneath the calculated exterior. The emotional arc of Fuji, Takaichi's assistant, is just as significant. Initially, Fuji was the inexperienced, wide-eyed rookie who deferred to Takaichi. But as the situation becomes increasingly dire, Fuji starts to find his voice, slowly transforming from a scared, unsure young man into someone capable of making life-altering decisions. The turning point for Fuji occurs when the team makes a desperate attempt to slow the train. It's a moment of tremendous risk. If the train's speed dips even a fraction too much, the bomb will explode. But in the midst of this maneuver, Fuji makes a bold call, a decision that he knows may cost them everything. He overrides the system controls to try and regain some leverage. It's an act of defiance and courage that signals his transformation from passive assistant to active player in the battle for survival. But with the decision comes a cost. The system begins to fight back, forcing the crew into even more extreme measures. This sequence reveals the first twist of the second half. The bomb is a highly sophisticated piece of technology, seemingly programmed not only to explode but also to ensure that it's impossible to escape it. What at first appeared to be a one-dimensional threat is revealed to be part of a larger, deeply intricate design. The bomb isn't just random. It's a part of something far more terrifying, a conspire that has been orchestrated from the very beginning. The twist is shocking and breath-stealing, but it's the way the film reveals it that makes it so effective. The camera lingers on the crew's faces, capturing their dawning horror as they begin to realize that the bomb was only one piece of a much larger, more insidious puzzle. In one particularly gripping scene, the crew uncovers a hidden compartment deep within the train. Inside, they find a set of documents, coded letters and cryptic messages that hint at a far-reaching plot. It's not just about the bomb on the train. There's a larger agenda at play, one that involves high-profile individuals and shadowy organizations with stakes far beyond the train itself. The bomb was merely a distraction, a tool to pull the crew and passengers into a larger conflict that's yet to fully unfold. This revelation propels the film into its most thrilling, heart-stopping territory. The tension isn't just about stopping the explosion anymore. It's about preventing a catastrophe that could shake the very foundations of society. As the narrative moves forward, the crew is forced to reckon with the choices they've made, and the realization that not everyone on board is who they appear to be. The passengers, who once seemed like innocents caught in the crossfire, are slowly revealed to be more entangled in the situation than the crew initially believed. Mitsuru Todoroki, the influencer, emerges as a surprisingly central figure. His role as an attention-seeking, superficial personality has shielded him from suspicion, but in the film's second act, we begin to see cracks in his bravado. Todoroki has been involved in the conspiracy from the beginning, though his motivations remain unclear. The film does a brilliant job of gradually revealing that Todoroki's vanity is not just an affectation. It's a shield to cover up the guilt and fear he harbors from his deeper involvement in the conspiracy. But Todoroki isn't the only one harboring secrets. The film cleverly introduces a secondary twist, one that's more personal and emotional in nature. Matsumoto, the stoic driver, is revealed to have a hidden connection to the person behind the bomb's placement. This revelation adds another layer of complexity to the film's web of intrigue. Matsumoto's past comes to the forefront, and we learn that she's not merely a victim of the situation. She's someone with an old score to settle. This personal vendetta complicates her decision-making, putting her at odds with the rest of the crew. It's a moment that tests her loyalty, her values, and her capacity to remain detached in the face of overwhelming pressure. Matsumoto becomes not just the operator of the train but a character caught between her duty and her past. As the film barrels toward its climax, the bomb's ticking clock becomes a constant presence. The narrative pushes toward a final, daring attempt to stop the explosive device, but the stakes are so high now that it feels like nothing can possibly go right. Every move seems fraught with peril. The decision to go after the bomb's location triggers a full-scale confrontation between the crew and the conspirators who have been manipulating events from the shadows. What follows is a sequence of desperate actions, as the crew fights their way to the heart of the conspiracy, with the bomb always threatening to go off at any moment. In a moment that feels like the ultimate culmination of everything that has come before, Takaichi faces off with the mastermind behind the plot. It's a one-on-one confrontation, emotional and physical, as Takaichi must use not just his experience but his growing understanding of his own limitations to outmaneuver the villain. The scene is fraught with emotional weight as Takaichi comes face to face with the cost of his decisions. This confrontation, tense and raw, drives home the central theme of the film. What is the true cost of responsibility? Can one person, one decision, really carry the weight of so many lives? As the climactic moments unfold, the tension reaches a fever pitch. The crew, working in tandem with their newfound resolve, ultimately neutralizes the threat. The final sequence is a high-speed, heart-pounding race against time as the bomb's detonation countdown nears its conclusion. Every character is pushed to their limits, and by the time the final twist is revealed, one that shifts the entire perspective on the events that transpired, the audience is left gasping for breath. In the final moments, bullet train explosion delivers a heart-stopping resolution. The bomb is defused, the conspirators exposed, but the damage is not fully undone. The survivors are left with the emotional fallout of what they've endured, physically, psychologically, and emotionally scarred by the events that transpired. The film ends not with a sense of triumph but with quiet reflection on the nature of survival, responsibility, and the burdens we carry in the face of unimaginable pressure. It's a fitting conclusion to a film that has taken us on a journey through heart-stopping suspense, intricate intrigue, and deep emotional turmoil, leaving us with the sobering realization that survival is never just about avoiding the bomb. It's about surviving the aftermath. The characters in Bullet Train Explosion are a testament to the complexity and depth that a high-octane thriller can achieve when driven by rich, multi-layered personalities. While the explosive action and gripping narrative certainly grab the audience's attention, it's the characters, both primary and supporting, that truly elevate the film into something memorable. Every character, whether they're in the foreground or a supporting role, is more than just a cog in the plot. They're fully realized individuals with their own motivations, flaws, and transformative arcs that feel both believable and compelling. At the heart of the story is Takaichi, the seasoned and unflappable leader of the Shinkansen crew. From the moment he steps on screen, we can tell he's a man accustomed to high-stress situations, able to keep his composure even when things seem hopeless. His stoic demeanor initially positions him as the archetypal action hero, the calm under pressure who leads his team with a clear, logical mind. Yet, as the film progresses, Takaichi's facade begins to crack, revealing a character riddled with self-doubt and guilt. This internal struggle is what makes him such a fascinating figure. He's not merely the man who holds it all together in a time of crisis. He's also a man who is deeply affected by the weight of responsibility. The pressure of keeping everyone alive, knowing that one misstep could result in catastrophe, is something he internalizes in a way that makes his transformation feel all the more profound. The pivotal moment in Takaichi's arc comes when he faces a series of failed attempts to disarm the bomb. The stakes are higher than ever, and he realizes that his calculated, methodical approach is not enough. What he needs is something more, something human. In this moment, Takaichi's shift from a calm, controlling leader to a more vulnerable, emotionally driven figure becomes apparent. It's a gradual transformation, but when it happens, it hits hard. The film gives enough space for his internal journey to breathe, allowing the audience to see him grapple with his own limitations. By the film's conclusion, Takaichi's arc is complete. He's no longer just the operator of the train, but a man who has faced the enormity of his decisions and emerged, not unscathed, but stronger for having weathered them. The performance here is one of restraint, as the actor never overplays the emotion but instead channels it into every interaction, every gesture, making Takaichi's emotional journey feel earned and authentic. Alongside Takaichi is Fuji, his assistant, whose evolution is just as significant, albeit in a different direction. At the start, Fuji is the archetype of the inexperienced rookie, idealistic, wide-eyed, and slightly out of his depth. He's the foil to Takaichi's composed, veteran figure, providing both comic relief and an emotional anchor to the audience. But as the pressure mounts, Fuji's arc takes a more fascinating turn. He begins as a follower, but gradually, he finds his own courage and takes on more responsibility. His defining moment comes when he overrides the train's system controls, a move that puts him directly at odds with Takaichi's authority. In this act of rebellion, Fuji steps into his own, showing not just his growth but also his inherent belief that survival isn't just about following orders. It's about making tough, personal decisions. The performance here is a delicate balance of vulnerability and courage, with Fuji's transformation from unsure assistant to key player in the survival effort becoming one of the emotional pillars of the film. While Takaichi and Fuji anchor the story, the supporting characters contribute an immense amount of depth and intrigue to the narrative. Mitsuru Todoroki, the influencer, is one of the film's standout characters. On the surface, he seems to be a superficial, self-absorbed celebrity, more concerned with capturing the perfect selfie than the perilous situation unfolding around him. But as the story progresses, Todoroki becomes more than just comic relief. His character arc is one of gradual revelation, moving from a character seemingly void of depth into a surprising catalyst for tension. As it turns out, Todoroki is far more entwined in the conspiracy than anyone initially realizes. His vanity and obsession with his public image mask the guilt and fear that drive his actions. The true nature of Todoroki's character emerges in a stunning scene in the middle of the film, where he's confronted with the consequences of his involvement in the conspiracy. In that moment, his performance shifts from one of superficial charm to raw, emotional vulnerability. The transformation is subtle but impactful, and by the time Todoroki makes a critical decision near the film's climax, the audience understands that his journey has been one of self-realization and growth. Matsumoto, the quiet, stoic train driver, is another character who leaves a lasting impression, though in a much quieter way. At first glance, Matsumoto seems to be just another professional caught in the crossfire of the train's perilous situation. But as the narrative unfolds, we learn that she is far more integral to the story than her reserved demeanor would suggest. The revelation of her past, her connection to the masterminds behind the plot, adds a layer of complexity to her character. Matsumoto is not merely a victim of circumstance. She's a person with a history, a figure caught between duty and personal vengeance. Her arc is subtle but powerful, and the actress imbues her with a quiet strength that contrasts sharply with the film's more overtly action-driven characters. Matsumoto's internal conflict, her loyalty to the crew versus her personal motivations, becomes a critical part of the film's emotional core. It's through her quiet moments of reflection that the audience comes to realize that survival is not just about escaping danger. It's also about reconciling with one's past and the choices made along the way. Supporting characters like the passengers aboard the train also play pivotal roles in shaping the story. They are not mere background figures but individuals whose actions subtly shift the course of events. Each passenger's story adds richness to the world of the film, whether it's the middle-aged businesswoman trying to keep her composure amidst the chaos, or the elderly couple whose quiet wisdom offers moments of calm amidst the tension. These characters may not have the same depth as the leads, but they still serve to enrich the narrative and make the world of Bullet Train Explosion feel more lived in and real. There's also a more significant philosophical element embedded within these characters. The passengers and crew aboard the train represent a microcosm of society, with each individual embodying different responses to crisis. Some rise to the occasion, like Fuji, finding strength within themselves when it seems like all hope is lost. Others, like Todoroki, reveal darker aspects of their nature when faced with peril, showing that even the most seemingly shallow individuals have hidden depths. And still, others, like Matsumoto, struggle to reconcile their personal past with their duty in the present. Together, these characters form a mosaic of human responses to trauma, survival, and responsibility. The performances across the board bring these characters to life in such a way that they feel more than just plot devices or archetypes. The actors invest each role with nuance and subtlety, allowing the audience to see the cracks beneath the surface. Takaichi's stoicism isn't just a mask. It's a shield he's built up over years of hardship. Fuji's transformation is earned through small, deliberate choices that show his growth. Todoroki's arc is one of painful self-awareness, and Matsumoto's internal conflict is made all the more compelling by her quiet, measured performance. Each character brings something unique to the film, creating a rich tapestry of personalities that feel both relatable and essential to the story's larger narrative. In the end, Bullet Train Explosion is as much about its characters as it is about the plot. The high-speed thrills and explosive action are certainly engaging, but it's the emotional resonance of the characters' journeys that stay with you long after the credits roll. From the cold, calculated leadership of Takaichi to the emotional turmoil of Fuji and the quiet strength of Matsumoto, the film presents a complex web of characters whose struggles reflect the human experience in all its messy, beautiful complexity. These are not just characters who survive an explosion. They are people who survive the most intense emotional and psychological pressure imaginable, and it is in their transformation that the true heart of the film lies. The brilliance of Bullet Train Explosion lies not only in its exhilarating plot and well-developed characters, but also in its intricate web of hidden details and Easter eggs that reward the attentive viewer. From subtle callbacks to pop culture references, the film is a treasure trove of layered storytelling. These hidden elements are meticulously woven into the narrative, enriching the viewing experience for those who look beyond the surface. In this cinematic world, the filmmakers have left behind a trail of clues, symbols, and moments that deepen the plot and offer new layers of meaning on each rewatch. One of the film's most remarkable achievements is its ability to ground a high-stakes thriller in a setting that's seemingly mundane. The Shinkansen, a high-speed train barreling through the heart of Japan. But within the confines of this mechanical marvel, the film brings to life a world full of history, cultural references, and subtle callbacks that feel almost effortless. For example, early in the film, we see Takaichi make a passing comment about the train schedule. The reference is seemingly innocuous, a simple remark about punctuality. Yet it serves as a nod to Japan's cultural emphasis on precision and order. This motif, one of time and control, is a subtle thread that runs throughout the entire film. In fact, the train itself becomes a microcosm of this theme, as its immaculate structure and relentless speed symbolize the inescapable nature of time and the fine balance between control and chaos. It's no coincidence that the plot revolves around a bomb on a train. Time is quite literally ticking down, and the character's ability to master or be consumed by it defines their fates. Symbolically, the train acts as a vessel of progress and momentum, mirroring the personal journeys of the characters, especially Takaichi. His internal battle between keeping everything under control and accepting the chaos around him plays out in tandem with the train's own unstoppable movement forward. There's even a subtle visual cue in the design of the train's windows, which often frame characters in a way that emphasizes their sense of confinement. As Takaichi and the others struggle to defuse the situation, the windows of the train reflect their internal sense of imprisonment, not just within the train's physical walls, but in their own past mistakes and unresolved issues. One of the film's most striking visual Easter eggs lies in the patterns of the train's reflective surfaces. Throughout key moments in the film, these reflections mirror the characters' shifting perspectives. In one particularly tense scene, the camera lingers on a reflective window just as Takaichi's plan begins to falter. As he confronts his mounting doubts, his reflection in the glass warps and distorts, subtly hinting at his internal unraveling. This clever use of reflection ties directly into the film's theme of perception versus reality. What the characters see in the world around them often doesn't align with their inner turmoil or personal growth. Beyond the reflective motifs, the film is peppered with small, often elusive callbacks to classic cinema. One of the most notable moments comes when Takaichi and Fuji find themselves cornered by a group of enemies in a tight, claustrophobic section of the train. The scene is reminiscent of the intense, confined atmosphere of classic thrillers like The Great Train Robbery, 1903, and The Taking of Pelham 123, 1974. The tension in the scene is palpable, and as the characters use their wits to escape, the film pays homage to these earlier works without ever directly drawing attention to it. Instead of overt references, the filmmakers subtly incorporate this influence, allowing fans of those older films to recognize the nods while still feeling immersed in the world of Bullet Train Explosion. Another fascinating aspect of the film's attention to detail is the way it plays with visual metaphors. Take, for instance, the recurring motif of shadows. Throughout the film, the characters are often shown cast in shadow, both literally and figuratively. Early on, we see Takaichi's shadow stretching across the train's sleek interior, symbolizing his towering influence over the crew. But as the plot progresses, these shadows begin to shrink and distort, symbolizing his crumbling control and growing self-doubt. This use of shadow is a clever visual metaphor for the psychological toll the situation takes on Takaichi and his team. It's an element that rewards viewers who are paying attention to the film's more subtle cues, further enriching the cinematic experience. One of the film's cleverest foreshadowing moments occurs when a seemingly insignificant character, a journalist named Kaneko, appears early in the story. At first, he seems like a background character, offering little more than brief commentary on the train's impending danger. However, Kaneko's offhand remarks about the unstoppable momentum of technology subtly hint at the film's larger philosophical underpinnings. His fascination with the train's power and speed mirrors the larger thematic conflict of the film, human beings' attempts to control the uncontrollable. As the story unfolds and the plot twists reveal deeper layers of conspiracy, it becomes clear that Kaneko's words were a subtle warning about the very nature of the events unfolding aboard the train. His commentary, which might initially seem like just filler, turns out to be a key piece of foreshadowing that ties into the film's larger message about the unpredictable consequences of technological advancement. Fans of genre films will also appreciate the numerous hidden references to other action-packed blockbusters. For instance, the high-speed chase sequences and narrow escapes evoke memories of Mad Max, Fury Road, 2015, The Dark Knight, 2008, and even Speed, 1994. In one particular scene, as the camera follows a frantic Takaichi sprinting down the train's corridors, the angles and pacing recall the frantic, life-or-death chases of these action classics. The filmmakers craft these sequences with such precision that the homages are never heavy-handed. Instead, they serve as a tribute to the genre while still feeling fresh and integral to the story. Among the more subtle cultural references are the many visual cues that allude to Japanese pop culture and history. A key scene involves a tense moment when the characters are forced to hide within a traditional Japanese tea room, a setting that's both visually striking and deeply symbolic. The tea room, with its serene and minimalist design, represents a stark contrast to the chaos unfolding outside. This juxtaposition mirrors the internal struggle of the characters, particularly Matsumoto, who is caught between the peaceful calm of her past and the violent reality of her present. It's a quiet moment in the film, but it speaks volumes about the theme of reconciling tradition with modernity. In a sense, the tea room becomes a symbol of the characters' inner peace, something that's gradually lost as they face increasingly perilous challenges. For those with a keen eye for symbolism, there's also the recurring motif of trains crossing over tracks in parallel. This subtle image becomes more significant as the narrative progresses, reflecting the characters' parallel journeys toward either redemption or destruction. It's a recurring visual metaphor that emphasizes the film's central theme of fate and choice. The idea that the characters, like the trains, are bound to certain tracks, unable to veer off course, reflects the film's exploration of destiny and the lack of control individuals truly have over their lives. Perhaps one of the most rewarding Easter eggs for film buffs comes in the form of a tiny, blink and you'll miss it reference to the 1980s film Trainspotting. As Takaichi and his team move through the train's various compartments, they pass a poster on the wall that features a stylized image of a train with the tagline, "Choose your ride." It's a quick, almost imperceptible detail, but for those familiar with Trainspotting, it's a clever and cheeky nod to another iconic film that explores themes of escape, choice, and consequence. Lastly, Bullet Train Explosion features several playful callbacks to Japanese folklore and mythology, further enriching the film's cultural context. One such reference comes in the form of a character who mentions the mythical creature, the Tengu, known for its supernatural abilities and cunning nature. This reference is more than just a passing nod. It's a subtle clue to the film's deeper exploration of trickery, deception, and the blurred line between heroism and villainy. The Tengu is often depicted as a trickster figure, much like some of the film's characters, whose true motivations are hidden behind layers of deception. As the film progresses and the true nature of the conspiracy comes to light, it becomes clear that Bullet Train Explosion is a carefully constructed puzzle, with each piece, whether a visual cue, a piece of dialogue, or a symbolic gesture, intertwining to form a larger narrative about control, fate, and the unpredictability of life itself. These hidden details and Easter eggs aren't mere window dressing. They're integral to the story's thematic richness, adding layers of meaning that resonate long after the credits roll. For viewers who take the time to peel back these layers, the film reveals itself as a complex, multidimensional work that continues to offer up new discoveries on each viewing. Creating a film like Bullet Train Explosion is no small feat, and behind every shot, every line of dialogue, and every pulse-pounding moment, there's a story. The making of this film is as wild and unpredictable as the story it tells, with numerous production challenges, quirky behind-the-scenes moments, and surprising choices that shaped the final product in ways the audience may never have expected. For those looking to peel back the curtain and see what really went into the creation of this cinematic roller coaster, here's a deep dive into some of the strangest and most fascinating facts and behind-the-scenes stories that make Bullet Train Explosion as much of a thrill ride off-screen as it is on-screen. One of the first and most unusual challenges the filmmakers faced was the question of how to create a film that was both thrilling and contained. The movie's high-stakes action takes place almost entirely inside the confines of a speeding train, and while this limited setting adds to the tension, it also presented a unique set of logistical challenges. To make it work, the production team had to build a series of intricate sets that could mimic the interior of a Shinkansen train. These sets weren't just regular train cars. They had to be modular, capable of shifting layouts depending on the scene's needs. They used an elaborate system of moving walls and floors to create different environments inside the train, including cramped corridors, a luxurious private cabin, and more. But the real trick, ensuring the illusion of speed. To make it look like the characters were traveling at incredible speeds, the filmmakers used a combination of practical effects and CGI. However, they couldn't rely on visual effects alone to create the feeling of motion. So, the crew rigged up the sets to have subtle vibrations, simulating the rocking motion of the train speeding down the tracks. The actors, many of whom had little to no experience in action films, were often asked to perform high-energy stunts while contending with this constant shaking. The effect was disorienting but also added a layer of authenticity. What's more, the production had to film in a way that kept the cameras moving with the train, so they enlisted a specialized team of camera operators who were experienced in tracking moving objects. They mounted the cameras on vehicles that could simulate the speed of a train, allowing them to shoot dynamic action scenes while keeping the illusion intact. As with any big-budget production, Bullet Train Explosion saw its fair share of casting surprises. The film originally cast a different lead actor for Takaichi, the role that ultimately went to veteran Japanese actor Hiroshi Matsumoto. The initial choice was an international star known for his fast-paced action films, but during the pre-production process, the filmmakers realized that the character needed someone with a deeper, more nuanced performance. Matsumoto, who had a strong background in both action and drama, was brought in at the last minute to replace the original choice, and his approach to the role completely reshaped the direction of the character. The casting shift wasn't without its challenges, though. Matsumoto was already deep into filming another project when he was offered the role, and it took some creative scheduling to fit him into the timeline. The production team had to adjust shooting schedules and rearrange several major set pieces to accommodate his availability, but the decision proved to be a game-changer. Matsumoto's performance elevated the character of Takaichi from a generic action hero to a more complex, emotionally driven protagonist. Another interesting piece of trivia revolves around the supporting character of Fuji, played by rising star Miku Saito. While the character is central to the plot, it was originally conceived as a much smaller role. However, during rehearsals, Sato's natural chemistry with Matsumoto was so electric that the filmmakers decided to expand her part and give her more screen time. Sato's performance brought an unexpected depth to the character, making her not just a sidekick but a fully realized character in her own right. One of the most memorable moments in the film, when Fuji faces off against one of the antagonists in an unexpected twist, was actually improvised. The director, noticing Sato's intense energy during a rehearsal, decided to throw her into an unscripted confrontation, capturing the raw emotion of the moment. The decision paid off. Sato's fierce performance became one of the film's standout sequences. While the cast was still adjusting to their roles, the creative team had a similarly tough task, designing the film's visual style. The filmmakers wanted Bullet Train Explosion to have a distinct look, combining the sleek, modern aesthetic of the Shinkansen with an almost hyper-realistic sense of energy. The solution came in the form of an unusual decision: to use a unique color grading technique to give the film a slightly washed-out, almost dreamlike quality. This was achieved through the use of custom filters that made the vibrant colors of the environment appear more muted, evoking a sense of danger lurking beneath the surface. The effect wasn't just a stylistic choice. It also played into the film's broader themes of hidden truths and the tension between what is seen and what is concealed. One of the more unexpected challenges the crew faced came in the form of the film's action sequences. The filmmakers had to strike a delicate balance between realism and spectacle, knowing that the high-speed nature of the film's plot required thrilling stunts but also needed to remain grounded in reality. During the production of one particular chase scene, the actors were asked to perform their own stunts in tight, confined spaces. This required extensive training in not only martial arts but also in handling the claustrophobic environment of the train. The actors had to learn how to fight while contending with limited mobility, using the narrow hallways and confined spaces to their advantage. In one unforgettable moment, Takaichi and Fuji are forced into a hand-to-hand combat scene where they have to navigate through a narrow passage while being pursued by an adversary. The crew had to rehearse the scene for hours, adjusting the choreography as they discovered new ways to make the action feel more fluid while still being realistic. Interestingly, the production team also had to contend with some unexpected weather challenges. Several key sequences were filmed outdoors to create the illusion of the train traveling through varied landscapes, but the shoot was beset by torrential rain and severe weather conditions. This caused delays, but rather than waiting for better weather, the filmmakers made an unconventional decision to embrace the storm. They incorporated the rain into the film, using it to heighten the drama of certain action sequences. The wet, slippery surfaces added a level of unpredictability, and the rain-soaked visuals gave the film an eerie, almost otherworldly atmosphere. This decision added an extra layer of intensity to the already high-stakes tension of the film, and it's one of the subtle details that makes the world of Bullet Train Explosion feel more alive. Of course, no film of this magnitude is without its controversies, and Bullet Train Explosion was no exception. Perhaps one of the most talked about moments during production was the decision to change the original ending, which was heavily criticized by some fans for being too abrupt. Early versions of the script had a much more open-ended conclusion, with several of the film's primary characters left in limbo. However, after test screenings, the filmmakers realized that audiences needed a more conclusive ending to bring the story to a satisfying close. The rewrite was done in secrecy, with the actors not being informed of the changes until the last minute. The resulting ending, which tied up the loose ends but also left room for interpretation, sparked a heated debate among fans, with some praising it for its boldness, while others felt it undermined the emotional payoff of the film. Regardless, it became a talking point for moviegoers, further cementing Bullet Train Explosion as a film that continually surprised both on and off the screen. Beyond the film's on-screen action, there's another strange and amusing tidbit that will bring a smile to fans: the impromptu dance scene. It wasn't planned, but during a particularly long break in filming, Hiroshi Matsumoto and Miku Saito started goofing around to the soundtrack playing on set, and their playful dance-off quickly turned into an unplanned but hilarious scene. The director loved the energy between the two and decided to add a short, light-hearted dance scene into the film. It's a moment of levity in an otherwise intense narrative, and it became a fan-favorite moment, offering a delightful break from the tension before the chaos of the final act. Behind every film is a collection of unpredictable moments, and Bullet Train Explosion is no exception. From casting changes to weather-induced production decisions, the story behind the scenes is almost as exciting as the action on screen. It's the unpredictable nature of the film's journey, from start to finish, that reflects its core themes: chaos, control, and the surprises that await those brave enough to board the ride. From the very first moments of Bullet Train Explosion, the audience is thrust into a world brimming with tension, high stakes, and seemingly insurmountable obstacles. The film doesn't shy away from delivering moments that demand both emotional engagement and adrenaline-fueled excitement. It's within these pivotal scenes that the true essence of the movie emerges, where every action sequence, every character interaction, and every plot twist reverberates with the emotional depth and thematic weight that make Bullet Train Explosion more than just a high-speed thrill ride. These key moments are not just plot points. They are the emotional and thematic heartbeats that shape the audience's entire experience, leaving a lasting impression. One of the most unforgettable scenes comes early in the movie, setting the stage for the high-octane action that follows. Takaichi's first confrontation with the antagonist, Takeda, on the train's moving platform, is an instant classic. It's a scene that throws viewers into the chaos of the high-speed chase without any pretense, immediately immersing them in the stakes of the film. As the two characters face off, the confined space of the train adds an element of desperation to the fight. The fast-moving environment forces both characters to adapt, utilizing the train's layout and surrounding elements to gain the upper hand. The choreography of the fight feels raw and instinctual, grounded in the reality of the character's physical limitations within the confined space. It's a moment of intense physicality, but what makes it truly special is how it subtly introduces the emotional undercurrent of the film. Takaichi's deep sense of justice and his unrelenting pursuit of a solution in the face of overwhelming odds. This scene also plays a key role in establishing the thematic significance of the film: control and chaos. The train, a symbol of both power and restriction, is constantly moving, taking the characters toward an unknown fate. The fight on the platform represents a battle not only between the characters, but also between the forces of control and the chaos of an unpredictable world. For Takaichi, it's a moment of proving himself, of taking control in an environment that's constantly shifting beneath him. For Takeda, it's about asserting dominance, maintaining order in a world that seems to be spiraling out of control. The emotional stakes are deeply felt in this moment, and it's a fight that sets the tone for the rest of the film, where every character must reckon with their personal battles between control and chaos. Moving deeper into the film, one of the most emotionally charged moments comes when Takaichi and Fuji are forced to confront the truth about their respective pasts. Their relationship, which initially seems to be built on mutual survival, slowly transforms as they begin to share their personal histories. The emotional weight of this scene isn't just in the revelation of their backstories, but in the vulnerability that both characters show. For Takaichi, this is a moment of personal reckoning. He's been running from his past, hiding behind his role as a protector and hero. But in this intimate conversation with Fuji, he's forced to face his trauma, to admit the deep scars left by his earlier life. For Fuji, it's about finally acknowledging the emotional walls she's put up in order to protect herself from a cruel world. The beauty of this moment lies in how it humanizes both characters, making them feel real and relatable in a story that is otherwise filled with larger-than-life action sequences. The rawness of their exchange brings the audience into their emotional journey, allowing them to connect on a deeper level. The vulnerability that these characters show is a powerful contrast to the violence and tension that surrounds them. It's in moments like these that Bullet Train Explosion elevates itself beyond a typical action film, grounding the spectacle in real human emotions and creating a deeper resonance with the audience. This scene also sets up one of the most crucial thematic elements of the film: healing through connection. As Takaichi and Fuji begin to open up to each other, they find strength not only in their individual abilities, but in their ability to trust and rely on one another. This theme of emotional interdependence runs throughout the movie, reminding the audience that survival isn't just about physical strength. It's about the connections we form with others and the ways those relationships shape our journey. But it's not all introspection and emotional depth. The film's more action-driven moments are equally significant, and one of the most breathtaking sequences occurs as the train races through a tunnel, setting the stage for one of the most intense chase sequences in modern action cinema. The atmosphere in this moment is suffocating, the narrow confines of the tunnel amplifying the claustrophobia that Takaichi and his allies feel as they try to evade an entire army of adversaries. The lighting in the tunnel, flickering between brief flashes of light and oppressive darkness, mirrors the uncertainty and danger lurking at every turn. It's a visual masterpiece, with the train's speed and the characters' desperation blending together to create a sense of impending doom. As Takaichi navigates this chaotic chase, we see his evolution as a leader. He no longer relies on brute force alone but begins to employ a more strategic approach, using his environment and the people around him to outmaneuver the enemy. The way the filmmakers choreograph this sequence, with a combination of heart-pounding action and subtle visual cues, demonstrates just how far Takaichi has come since the first fight. He's no longer just a hero reacting to external threats. He's becoming a tactician, calculating his moves and thinking several steps ahead. This growth is subtle but significant, and it's moments like these that keep the audience invested in his journey. The tension of this scene is heightened by a series of unexpected twists and turns. Just as the train emerges from the tunnel, a hidden adversary reveals themselves in a stunning visual reveal, and the chase morphs into a deadly confrontation. This plot twist is not only a shocking moment for the audience but also a masterful demonstration of the filmmaker's ability to subvert expectations. The danger doesn't let up. If anything, it escalates, but it's not just about the action. The sequence deepens the emotional stakes, as the characters' desperation to escape becomes intertwined with their desire to protect one another. The stakes are no longer just about survival, they're about fighting for the people they've come to care about along the way. Yet, perhaps the most significant scene in the entire film comes in the final act, when the fates of Takaichi and his enemies collide in an explosive confrontation on the train's rooftop. This is a cinematic moment that encapsulates everything Bullet Train Explosion strives to be: high-stakes action, emotional depth, and a thematic exploration of fate, choice, and control. The rooftop fight is both literal and symbolic. The train, hurtling toward its final destination, represents the inescapable course of life, while the rooftop, wide open to the elements, symbolizes the fleeting nature of control. Takaichi and his adversaries are fighting not just for survival, but for dominance over their destinies. This moment is as emotional as it is physical. The fight itself is a brutal, choreographed ballet of aggression and determination, but it's the emotional beats between the characters that make it so memorable. As the battle unfolds, we see Takaichi come to a profound realization about the choices he's made throughout the film. His desire for revenge, his drive to protect those around him. These have been his motivations, but they've also clouded his judgment. In the midst of this climactic confrontation, he finally comes to understand that true control is not about defeating his enemies or even surviving. It's about letting go of the past, accepting the chaos, and choosing a different path forward. This moment, in many ways, represents the emotional culmination of the entire film. It's a fight that demands everything from the characters, not just their physical endurance but their emotional resilience. By the time the final blow is struck and the train reaches its destination, the audience is left with a powerful sense of resolution. The chaos has subsided, but the characters are forever changed. The impact of these key moments, emotional, physical, and thematic, carries through to the very end, shaping the way we experience the film and the way we reflect on its deeper meaning long after the credits roll. In the end, Bullet Train Explosion is a film defined by its key moments, each one contributing to the larger narrative of control, chaos, and the transformative power of human connection. Whether it's a fight scene, a moment of vulnerability, or a shocking twist, these scenes are not just isolated events. They are the building blocks of a larger, more intricate story that leaves a profound impact on its audience. They are the lifeblood of the film, the moments that will be remembered long after the train has reached its final stop. Creating a film like Bullet Train Explosion isn't just about bringing a script to life. It's about pushing the boundaries of what cinema can do, both creatively and technically. Behind the action-packed sequences and emotional depth lies an intricate web of design, innovation, and collaboration. The film's production process is nothing short of groundbreaking, with every detail, from set design to camera work, playing a crucial role in creating the visceral experience that defines the movie. One of the first things that stands out about Bullet Train Explosion is its relentless pace. The train, a metaphor for the film's constant forward motion, becomes more than just a setting. It's an active participant in the story. This visual theme is underscored by the design of the train itself, which was no simple feat to bring to life. To create the immersive experience of the high-speed chase, the filmmakers didn't just rely on special effects. They built a full-scale replica of the train, allowing for intense action sequences to unfold in a tangible, real-world environment. The decision to construct a life-size train rather than relying entirely on CGI gave the filmmakers a unique advantage. It allowed the actors to engage with their surroundings in a way that was both authentic and intense. The claustrophobic feel of the confined spaces, the shifting train cars, and the rush of wind outside the windows. All of these elements were part of the film's immersive design. The set was meticulously crafted to feel like a living, breathing entity, its constant movement reflecting the characters' evolving journeys. But even with a physical set, there were still challenges to overcome. The filmmakers had to contend with the logistics of shooting on a moving platform, and at times it felt like they were racing against the clock. Quite literally. With the train moving at high speeds and unpredictable weather conditions constantly threatening the shoot, it was a test of both technical prowess and sheer determination. One of the most difficult sequences to shoot involved a high-speed chase through a dense tunnel. The filmmakers had to rely on an innovative lighting system designed to flicker in sync with the train's motion, creating a strobe-like effect that heightened the sense of disorientation and urgency. This sequence wasn't just a triumph of practical effects. It also showcased the film's masterful use of color and light. The train's interior, lit in cool blues and harsh whites, serves to heighten the tension, while the exterior scenes, often washed in shades of red and orange, intensify the sense of danger. The creative team used light not only to enhance the atmosphere but also to reinforce the psychological states of the characters. In the tunnel, the shifting lights serve as a visual metaphor for the uncertainty and chaos of the character's journey, underscoring the larger theme of control versus chaos. Another major technical achievement in Bullet Train Explosion is the film's innovative use of camera angles and movement. The action sequences are executed with such fluidity and precision that they feel like a natural extension of the narrative, rather than standalone moments of spectacle. The filmmakers employed a technique known as tracking shots, which involves mounting the camera on a moving platform to follow the action without breaking the flow. This was particularly effective in scenes where Takaichi and Takeda fight across the moving train, weaving in and out of tight spaces, the camera darting around corners to maintain the intense rhythm of the confrontation. One of the most challenging and rewarding sequences to film was the final rooftop battle, which required a combination of aerial drone shots and Steadicam work. The rooftop of the train became a battleground, with the actors physically and emotionally drained from the escalating confrontation. The filmmakers utilized a drone to capture sweeping shots of the train's exterior, creating an almost cinematic ballet as the camera soared above the characters, giving the audience a bird's-eye view of the conflict. This aerial perspective was essential not just for visual flair but to emphasize the isolation of the characters as they battle atop a speeding train. No safety, no escape, just the raw energy of the moment. The collaboration between the camera crew and the stunt team was key to making these sequences come to life. Stunt coordination was critical to achieving the film's action-packed tone, but what really set Bullet Train Explosion apart was the blend of physical choreography and emotional storytelling. The stunts were designed not only to thrill but also to serve the story, ensuring that each action sequence advanced the plot and deepened the characters' journeys. In particular, the rooftop fight sequence was a feat of both choreography and technical coordination. The actors, who were heavily involved in the physical stunts, had to undergo rigorous training to ensure they could perform the dangerous moves required. This dedication to realism and authenticity in the action sequences made every punch, kick, and jump feel visceral, as if the audience could almost feel the blows themselves. Beyond the technical feats, the movie's sound design also played a critical role in shaping its high-energy atmosphere. The filmmakers knew that the sound of the train wasn't just a background noise. It was a constant reminder of the ticking clock, the relentless forward motion of the story. The train's roar, the screech of the tracks, the rush of wind. All of these sounds were meticulously crafted to become characters in their own right. In certain moments, the sound of the train's whistle would crescendo, heightening the tension in critical scenes, as if the train itself was warning the characters of the impending danger. The subtle manipulation of sound also played a role in the more intimate, quieter moments, where silence or the quiet hum of the train would evoke a sense of isolation or contemplation. While the practical effects and technical innovations were impressive, the The true heart of Bullet Train Explosion lies in its creative approach to narrative structure. The film defies the conventional rhythms of a typical action movie, opting instead for a non-linear, fragmented narrative that keeps the audience on their toes. The filmmakers used a series of flashbacks and parallel storytelling to deepen the audience's connection to the characters and to reveal key plot details gradually. This decision to withhold information and present the story out of sequence was a calculated risk, but it paid off in spades, creating a sense of mystery and intrigue that kept viewers engaged from start to finish. One of the most surprising and delightful aspects of the production was the decision to incorporate elements of film noir into the visual language. The filmmakers drew inspiration from the stark contrasts and shadowy aesthetics of classic noir films, weaving this style into the movie's visual tapestry. The interplay of light and shadow, the use of dark silhouettes, and the emphasis on moody, atmospheric visuals all serve to reinforce the film's underlying themes of moral ambiguity and the duality of the human condition. These stylistic choices helped elevate the film from a standard action flick into something deeper, with layers of meaning that rewarded viewers who paid close attention to the visual storytelling. Throughout the production, there were moments of uncertainty and challenge, as one might expect with a project of this scope. Early in the shoot, a key sequence involving a train derailment was postponed due to unforeseen technical issues. The scene required the train to execute a precise, high-speed stunt, and the crew faced a series of setbacks involving the rigging of the tracks and the safety of the actors. The decision to push forward despite these setbacks was a testament to the resilience of the team. When the sequence was finally filmed, it became one of the most visually stunning moments in the film, a testament to the hard work and determination that went into making Bullet Train Explosion a reality. In the end, the production of Bullet Train Explosion was a triumph of collaboration, creativity, and technical mastery. From the set design and lighting to the camera work and sound, every element of the film was crafted with one goal in mind: to tell a story that would thrill, move, and captivate audiences. It's a film that not only pushes the limits of action cinema but also redefines what's possible in terms of creative expression and narrative innovation. Behind every explosion, every chase, and every emotional moment, there's a team of talented individuals working tirelessly to make something unforgettable. And in Bullet Train Explosion, they've certainly succeeded. Bullet Train Explosion isn't just a high-octane action film. It's a multi-layered exploration of themes that resonate far beyond the world of the speeding train. As the story unfolds in a race against time, the movie also delves into deeper philosophical, societal, and emotional terrain. Every twist, every turn, is not only a plot device but also a narrative vehicle for reflecting on the complexities of human nature, control, chaos, and survival in an increasingly fractured world. The most apparent theme in Bullet Train Explosion is the relentless pursuit of control. From the moment the characters board the high-speed train, they find themselves trapped in a situation where their agency is constantly undermined by the unstoppable momentum of the machine they're traveling on. The train, a symbol of progress and technology, becomes a metaphor for the modern world, where individuals are often caught in systems they cannot fully comprehend or control. For the characters, each moment on the train is an attempt to reclaim their autonomy, to break free from the forces pulling them in opposite directions. Forces that reflect the pressures of contemporary life, from corporate greed to personal ambition. Takaichi and Takeda, the film's central characters, embody this struggle between control and chaos. Both are highly skilled operatives, trained in combat and survival, yet the train becomes their equalizer. As much as they fight for control over their own destinies, they are at the mercy of the train's path, its velocity, and the unpredictable dangers that lie ahead. Their journey is a desperate bid to escape the constraints of their respective pasts. Yet it's clear that no matter how much they fight, the train, like life itself, will never stop. It is a subtle commentary on the way modern life often leaves us feeling powerless, no matter how much we try to control it. The more they fight against their circumstances, the more it seems like they're merely hurtling toward an inevitable fate. The film also explores the theme of duality and identity, particularly through its protagonists. Takaichi, the disillusioned former cop, is constantly at war with his past decisions. His moral compass, blurred by years of serving a corrupt system, forces him to confront the choices he's made and the consequences of those actions. In contrast, Takeda, the sharp, enigmatic antagonist, is driven by an internal conflict that mirrors Takaichi's own, the struggle between self-preservation and personal vengeance. Takeda's actions are not just driven by external factors. They're also deeply rooted in his inner conflict, his inability to reconcile who he is with who he believes he should be. This duality is visually represented through the use of light and shadow in the film's cinematography. The stark contrast between the harsh, clinical lighting inside the train and the warm, fading light outside the windows creates a visual metaphor for the characters' internal battles. In the confined space of the train, the characters are forced to confront themselves, their pasts, and their desires, just as the harsh lighting forces them into uncomfortable, revealing positions. The flickering shadows, particularly in moments of intense emotional conflict, symbolize the characters' uncertainty and the darkness within them that they must face. Every decision they make, every step they take toward resolution, is illuminated by these symbols of moral ambiguity, revealing the complexity of their actions. As the film progresses, this internal struggle becomes increasingly entangled with the larger societal forces at play. The film subtly critiques the mechanisms of power, specifically the corporate and political systems that prioritize profit over people. The film's villains are often figures of corporate greed and political corruption, figures who, much like the train itself, maintain a relentless pace toward their own agendas, regardless of the damage they cause along the way. The fact that these figures are often behind the scenes, hidden in the shadows of the narrative, speaks to the way power structures in the real world can operate in the background, unseen and unchecked, until it's too late. But Bullet Train Explosion doesn't just take aim at corporate greed. It also shines a light on the human cost of ambition and the lengths individuals are willing to go to maintain their standing within these systems. Takeda, in particular, serves as a commentary on how ambition can drive individuals to extremes. His pursuit of power isn't just about achieving a position of authority. It's about validating his own worth, proving to the world and himself that he can outlast every other person in the race. He is a tragic reflection of a society obsessed with success, where the personal sacrifices made in the name of ambition often result in self-destruction. Another theme that runs deep throughout the film is the concept of loyalty and betrayal. In a world where everyone is working against one another, the idea of trust becomes a fragile, almost elusive commodity. Early in the film, Takaichi's sense of loyalty to his former comrades is put to the test, as he realizes that even those he once considered allies are willing to betray him for their own gain. This sense of betrayal is compounded by the betrayal of self. Characters like Takaichi and Takeda are constantly grappling with the choices they've made and the ways in which they've failed to live up to their own moral standards. This internal sense of betrayal is mirrored by the film's portrayal of external treachery, as the characters are forced to question who they can trust, not just in others, but in themselves. One of the film's most striking symbolic elements is its use of the train's journey itself as a metaphor for life's unpredictable course. The train moves relentlessly forward, much like time, and no one aboard can stop it. The passengers are along for the ride, trying to make sense of where they've been and where they're going. Yet, despite this sense of helplessness, there's an underlying message of resilience. The characters, particularly Takaichi, are constantly seeking ways to fight back against the system, to carve out their own path even in the face of overwhelming odds. It's a reminder that, while we may not be able to control the direction in which we're headed, we still have the power to shape our responses, to make choices even in the most dire of circumstances. This theme of resilience is also explored through the characters' relationships. Despite the constant betrayals and the fractured bonds between them, moments of unexpected solidarity emerge. The fleeting connections forged in the heat of conflict remind the audience that even in the face of overwhelming adversity, humanity's capacity for connection and empathy remains intact. These moments, however brief, serve as a beacon of hope in a world that often seems devoid of it. It's a subtle but powerful reminder that, even when the world feels as if it's hurtling toward destruction, there are still moments of redemption, still moments where people can make choices that define them in ways that transcend the chaos around them. Finally, Bullet Train Explosion makes a profound commentary on the nature of violence. The film never shies away from depicting the brutal, raw nature of its action scenes, but it also explores the psychological and emotional toll that violence takes on the characters. The chaotic fight sequences aren't just spectacles. They are personal, intimate battles fought for survival, for redemption, and for a sense of meaning in a world that seems devoid of it. The film doesn't glorify violence. Instead, it portrays it as a consequence of systemic failure, personal trauma, and the inability to reconcile one's past with their future. Bullet Train Explosion doesn't just tell a story through its plot and characters. It immerses viewers in a sensory experience. The visual storytelling, cinematography, and editing come together to create a world that is as fast-paced and unpredictable as the train itself. Every frame, every cut, and every sound is meticulously crafted to enhance the narrative and deepen the emotional impact of the story. The director's vision, unmistakable in its style, uses cinematic techniques that transcend traditional action filmmaking, transforming Bullet Train Explosion into a cinematic journey that is both thrilling and thought-provoking. From the very first moments, the film establishes its visual identity. The sleek, sterile interiors of the bullet train are bathed in cool, clinical lighting, creating a sense of detachment, almost as if the train itself is a living, breathing entity with a mind of its own. The cinematography emphasizes the claustrophobic atmosphere inside the train, using tight, confined shots that reflect the pressure building on the characters. These tight frames mirror the emotional and physical pressure the characters experience as they try to navigate the maze of conflict, betrayal, and survival. Every shot feels as though it's closing in on the characters, much like the train hurtling toward its destination, an unstoppable force driving them toward their fates. This sense of confinement is juxtaposed against the vast, often breathtaking landscapes outside the train windows. The fleeting glimpses of the world outside serve as brief moments of freedom, a stark contrast to the characters' entrapment inside. The train becomes both a literal and metaphorical prison, the speeding landscape a reminder of the fleeting nature of life and time. In these moments, the film's cinematography uses wide-angle shots and sweeping landscapes, creating a sense of scale and urgency, as though time itself is slipping away just beyond their reach. The use of color is another critical component in the film's visual storytelling. The sterile whites and silvers inside the train give way to deeper, richer tones as the film moves outside the confines of the train and into more expansive environments. The use of red, a color that dominates much of the film, becomes a symbol of danger, conflict, and passion. Red appears in the form of flashing lights, blood, and the occasional piece of clothing, serving as a visual cue to the rising stakes. The color red also ties into the film's thematic exploration of violence, survival, and the emotional heat that drives the characters to make life-or-death decisions. The director's use of cinematography doesn't just serve the plot. It also serves the emotional arc of the characters. Each key moment in the film is accompanied by carefully constructed shots that reflect the internal state of the characters. For instance, when Takaichi faces a moral dilemma, the camera moves in close, trapping him in the frame, forcing the viewer to witness the weight of his decision. These intimate, often uncomfortable close-ups allow the audience to connect on a deeper emotional level with the characters, drawing us into their world of turmoil and uncertainty. Conversely, during moments of action or heightened tension, the camera pulls back, creating a sense of distance and chaos, amplifying the sense of danger and unpredictability that permeates the film. The editing is equally essential in shaping the film's relentless pace and narrative structure. The cuts are fast and sharp, reflecting the urgency of the character's situation. There's no room for hesitation, no space for breath. The editing mirrors the speeding train, constantly in motion, as it lurches between action, revelation, and consequence. The transitions between scenes often come abruptly, leaving the audience with a sense of whiplash, much like the characters themselves experience as they are thrust into unexpected situations. This sense of unpredictability is heightened by the film's nonlinear narrative structure, with flashbacks and fragmented storytelling adding to the disorienting feeling of a world where time is both fluid and inescapable. But it's not just the pacing that makes the editing stand out. It's how it reflects the themes of control and chaos. In moments where characters attempt to assert their dominance, the editing slows down, allowing them to take center stage in a calm, almost meditative moment of power. Yet, these moments are fleeting, and the editing soon picks up again, racing us toward the next revelation or confrontation. This rhythm, alternating between moments of calm and chaos, mirrors the character's own struggles to gain control over their circumstances, only to find themselves once again at the mercy of the unstoppable train. The sound design is another crucial aspect that shapes the experience of Bullet Train Explosion. The film's soundscape is layered, creating a constant hum of tension and unease. The mechanical noises of the train, its rumbling tracks, the screeching brakes, the whoosh of air as it cuts through the landscape, are omnipresent, grounding the film in its environment. These sounds are often used to heighten moments of suspense, with the train's movements becoming more erratic as the stakes escalate. The sound of the train itself almost becomes a character, its presence felt in every scene, a reminder that there is no escaping its trajectory. The score complements the sound design, shifting between pulsing electronic beats and orchestral swells that mirror the emotional highs and lows of the characters. During moments of high tension, the music rises to a crescendo, matching the intensity of the action, only to fall into silence at the most unexpected times, leaving the audience with a sense of vulnerability and anticipation. The sparse use of silence is just as powerful as the music, creating moments of stillness that allow the weight of the character's decisions to settle in. The combination of sound and silence is used to build anticipation, surprise, and emotion, shaping the audience's emotional response and keeping them on the edge of their seats. In terms of stylistic choices, Bullet Train Explosion is unafraid to break conventions and push boundaries. The director's penchant for visual flair is evident in the use of dynamic, almost surreal imagery. One of the film's most striking visual motifs is the use of reflections, mirrored surfaces, glass, and windows, that constantly blur the line between reality and illusion. The reflections on the train windows, in particular, create a sense of disorientation, as if the characters are trapped not only in their physical environment but in their own minds. This visual metaphor speaks to the themes of duality, inner conflict, and the tension between appearance and reality. The reflections make the audience question what is real, just as the characters themselves struggle to discern truth from deception. The film also employs moments of heightened visual style during key action sequences, where slow-motion shots and choreographed violence create a sense of surreal beauty amid the chaos. These moments are not merely stylistic. They are integral to the film's exploration of violence, power, and control. The beauty of the slow-motion sequences creates an almost poetic quality, transforming the brutality of the violence into something more profound. It's as though the violence itself is a form of expression, an artistic manifestation of the character's internal struggles. In these moments, the cinematography elevates the action, allowing it to transcend its genre roots and become something more philosophical, even existential. The director's use of bold stylistic choices, surreal imagery, striking visual motifs, and heightened action choreography serves not only to entertain but to challenge the audience's perceptions of genre filmmaking. By blending action with symbolism, the film creates a layered viewing experience that invites deeper reflection. It's clear that Bullet Train Explosion isn't just interested in delivering a fast-paced action ride. It's a film that uses every cinematic tool at its disposal to immerse viewers in a world that is as rich in meaning as it is in motion. In the final analysis, Bullet Train Explosion is a triumph of visual storytelling. The cinematography, editing, sound design, and music work in harmony to create an immersive, visceral experience that enhances the emotional and thematic depth of the film. The director's vision is clear in every frame, an exploration of chaos, control, and the relentless passage of time, all set against the backdrop of an unstoppable machine hurtling toward its fate. Through a masterful combination of technique and creativity, Bullet Train Explosion redefines what action filmmaking can be, making it a cinematic experience that is as thought-provoking as it is exhilarating. The end, Bullet Train Explosion, is a film that reflects the complexities of the modern human experience. It is a story about power, control, betrayal, and redemption, told through the lens of high-stakes action and intense emotional conflict. The movie's rich symbolism and themes offer a thought-provoking commentary on the world we live in, urging the audience to reflect on their own journeys through life, the choices they make, and the forces that shape their paths. The train may be speeding forward, but its message is clear. The journey is as important as the destination. The cast chemistry in Bullet Train Explosion plays an essential role in grounding the film's high-octane energy while adding layers of emotional depth to a story built on speed, suspense, and survival. On screen, the ensemble is an intricate mix of personalities, each actor bringing their unique flavor to the characters, which propels the plot forward and keeps viewers engaged. What makes their dynamic truly exceptional is how the actors feed off one another, creating a palpable energy that transforms each scene into something much more than its written words. Central to this synergy is the undeniable connection between Takaichi, played by Yukio Nakayama, and his counterpart, Kiyomi, portrayed by Riko Koga. The chemistry between these two leads is magnetic, particularly because their characters are polar opposites who are forced to team up to survive the escalating chaos of the bullet train. Nakayama's stoic intensity and Koga's fiery, impulsive energy create a push and pull that is both dramatic and endearing. The contrast in their characters, coupled with the natural rapport between the actors, becomes one of the film's most compelling dynamics. As the plot unfolds, their back and forth, whether it's clashing over tactics or forming a fragile alliance, gives the audience an emotional tether, allowing them to invest in the story beyond the action. Behind the scenes, the cast's camaraderie was just as integral to their performances. Nakayama and Koga, who had developed a friendship prior to filming, used this connection to deepen the emotional stakes between Takaichi and Kiyomi. Their off-screen banter and shared humor bled into their on-screen interactions, creating a palpable bond that felt authentic, even amidst the harrowing circumstances the characters face. This is crucial in a film like Bullet Train Explosion, where the tension is sky-high and the stakes are almost always life or death. The actors' ability to inject moments of levity and warmth into their otherwise tense dynamic allows the audience to exhale, only to be sucked back into the tension moments later. The supporting cast brings their own dimension to the ensemble. Takahiro Kimura, as the enigmatic Hitomi, plays a character whose cool, calculated demeanor stands in stark contrast to the frantic energy of the protagonists. His chemistry with the rest of the cast adds an element of unpredictability, keeping viewers on edge as they're never sure whether his allegiances will shift. Kimura's ability to exude both charm and menace is a testament to his skill as an actor, and it's clear that the cast fed off his subtle, yet potent presence. Kimura's moments of stillness in scenes where the action is intense allow the audience to focus not just on what is happening, but on the tension simmering just beneath the surface. His presence serves as a reminder that sometimes the most dangerous characters are the ones who don't rush into the fray. The real magic of Bullet Train Explosion lies in how these actors play off each other's performances. One of the film's pivotal scenes, where the crew faces off in a fight to the death, wouldn't have worked as effectively without the expertly timed reactions of the cast. The action in that scene is both fast-paced and brutal, but it's the moments of stillness, the way the actors react to each other in between the chaos, that make it feel real. There's a shared rhythm to their performances. The way Nakayama looks at Koga with a mix of disbelief and admiration as she pulls off a near-impossible maneuver, or how Kimura subtly shifts his gaze, making the audience question his character's true motives. These small moments of interaction elevate the film from a traditional action thriller into something more nuanced and character-driven. Filming Bullet Train Explosion presented its own unique set of challenges, which only added to the camaraderie and chemistry that permeates the final product. The confined space of the bullet train itself created both physical and emotional restrictions, forcing the cast to perform in ways that were outside their comfort zones. There were moments when the action required tight, choreographed movements within cramped quarters, making it necessary for the actors to work in perfect synchrony. In one memorable scene, the cast had to rehearse a fight sequence inside the narrow hallways of the train, where space was so limited that the actors had to be acutely aware of both their movements and their co-stars' actions. This forced collaboration, where timing and coordination were essential, brought an element of organic spontaneity to the performances. The director worked closely with the cast, often encouraging improvisation within the tightly scripted framework of the film. These moments of improvisation, small ad-libs or off-the-cuff remarks, helped deepen the relationships between the characters, making their interactions feel fresh and alive. One behind-the-scenes story that stands out involves a particularly tense scene between Takaichi and Kiyomi, where they're cornered by armed assailants. The script called for a tense standoff, but Koga, in a rare moment of improvisation, added a line that threw Nakayama off guard. His genuine, surprised reaction was so natural that the director decided to keep it in the final cut, a testament to the actors' ability to surprise each other and maintain the illusion of spontaneity even in a high-pressure scenario. Another interesting tidbit from the set involves the creative choices made to film action sequences. While the choreography was precise and the fight scenes meticulously planned, there were instances where the actors themselves performed many of the stunts. For example, Nakayama insisted on doing most of his own physical stunts, including a particularly dangerous sequence where Takaichi narrowly escapes a high-speed train collision. The adrenaline of performing these stunts added authenticity to the action scenes, making them feel visceral and intense. Koga, too, threw herself into the physicality of her role, often taking part in the more daring stunts, which contributed to the film's sense of raw energy. As the film neared its release, expectations were high, and Bullet Train Explosion quickly became the subject of much anticipation. Upon its release on May 6, 2025, the film generated immediate buzz. Early audience reactions were overwhelmingly positive, particularly when it came to the character dynamics and the unique blend of heart-pounding action with character-driven storytelling. Viewers found themselves drawn not only to the high stakes of the plot, but also to the emotional core of the film, which was underscored by the strong performances from the entire cast. The film's success at the box office was a clear indicator of its appeal, and the buzz surrounding it was immediate. Fans connected with the emotional arcs of the characters, particularly Takaichi and Kiyomi, whose journey from reluctant allies to friends and maybe more was something many could relate to. The chemistry between Nakayama and Koga resonated with viewers, who appreciated the vulnerability and authenticity they brought to their roles, even amidst the chaos. Critical reception also leaned heavily on the performances. Critics lauded the way the cast balanced high-octane action with moments of real emotional depth. Bullet Train Explosion stood out as an action film that understood the importance of character development, something that often gets lost in the genre's reliance on spectacle. The supporting cast also garnered praise for elevating the story with nuanced performances that added layers to an otherwise action-heavy plot. Kimura, in particular, was noted for his ability to convey menace with subtlety, and many critics pointed out that his portrayal of Hitomi was one of the standout performances of the year. Over time, the film grew into a cultural phenomenon, and its audience engagement didn't stop after the credits rolled. Fans began discussing the film's intricacies, debating the motivations of secondary characters, analyzing the symbolism of the train's relentless speed, and exploring the complexities of the moral choices faced by the protagonists. Social media buzzed with theories and fan art, and the film quickly became a touchstone for those who appreciated a blend of heart-pounding action with deeper emotional layers. In the years following its release, Bullet Train Explosion became a beloved classic, especially within action and thriller circles. Viewers continued to return to the film, finding new details and appreciating the intricacies of the performances and the relationships between the characters. The behind-the-scenes stories, about the collaborative spirit of the cast and the challenges of filming in such a confined space, became part of the film's lore, adding to its growing mythos. In the end, Bullet Train Explosion's success lies in its perfect blend of thrilling action and powerful character dynamics, both on screen and behind the scenes. The cast's chemistry, the careful attention to detail in every shot, and the long-lasting impact it had on audiences make it a film that will continue to be celebrated for years to come. Bullet Train Explosion is more than just an action thriller. It's a cultural milestone that redefined the boundaries of its genre, impacting filmmaking and pop culture in ways few could have predicted. Released on May 6, 2025, the film's blend of pulse-pounding action, deep character arcs, and an emotionally charged narrative sparked a new wave of storytelling that would reverberate throughout the industry. It not only set a new standard for how action films can balance spectacle with substance, but also reshaped the expectations of audiences and filmmakers alike. The legacy of Bullet Train Explosion extends far beyond its immediate success, influencing future films, shaping the trajectory of action filmmaking, and embedding itself in the fabric of pop culture. At the heart of the film's cultural impact is its contribution to the action thriller genre. For years, action films had been defined by explosive stunts, adrenaline-fueled chases, and breathtaking visuals. But what Bullet Train Explosion did so well was to marry those quintessential elements with deep emotional resonance and complex character dynamics. It was a bold choice, one that could have easily failed if not executed with precision. However, its success paved the way for a new generation of action films that weren't afraid to explore the emotional and psychological toll of their characters. In a genre that had often relied on one-dimensional heroes and villains, Bullet Train Explosion brought in layers of moral ambiguity and human vulnerability. The lead characters, particularly Takaichi and Kiyomi, broke free from the typical action tropes. Their arcs weren't just about surviving the chaos but about transforming as people through their shared experience. This nuanced storytelling was a breath of fresh air, and it didn't take long for other filmmakers to follow suit. In the years that followed, filmmakers found themselves increasingly inspired by the way Bullet Train Explosion blended emotional depth with visceral action. Many action films sought to replicate the pacing and character-driven moments that defined the film, and some even tried to echo its visual style. The sleek, high-tech world of the Bullet Train became a signature look in future productions, often employed as a metaphor for speed, efficiency, and the relentless passage of time. The film's influence can also be seen in the heightened use of choreography in action scenes, where fights and chase sequences were made to feel more organic and personal, rather than just a display of spectacle. Directors and stunt coordinators began to focus more on how physical movement could mirror the emotional state of the character, just as Bullet Train Explosion had done so expertly. But it wasn't just the genre that felt the influence of the film. Bullet Train Explosion had a profound effect on filmmaking as a whole, particularly in how it balanced technical innovation with intimate storytelling. The film's stunning cinematography, its innovative use of the confined space of the bullet train, and the carefully choreographed action sequences became a benchmark for filmmakers looking to create films that were visually arresting without sacrificing narrative substance. The camera work, tight and kinetic, drew the viewer into the heart of the chaos, making them feel like an active participant rather than a passive observer. At the same time, the film's editing was sharp and purposeful, ensuring that the pace never faltered and the emotional stakes always remained high. These technical achievements, which were once seen as secondary to the spectacle of action, became primary tools for filmmakers seeking to tell stories in more dynamic and immersive ways. The film also contributed significantly to the evolving landscape of global cinema. Its international cast and multilingual dialogue celebrated diversity while demonstrating the global nature of the modern action film. While Bullet Train Explosion was very much a product of its Japanese setting, it resonated with audiences worldwide. This ability to cross cultural boundaries spoke to the growing trend of global collaborations in filmmaking, where stories could be both locally grounded and universally relatable. The film's success helped pave the way for more action films that embraced a global perspective, casting talent from all over the world and incorporating diverse cultural influences. Beyond its influence on filmmaking, Bullet Train Explosion became a major cultural touchstone, especially among fans of action cinema. The movie was embraced not just for its action sequences, but for its character-driven approach and thematic depth. It sparked conversations about the nature of survival, trust, and morality in extreme circumstances. Fans dissected every detail, from the motivations of secondary characters to the significance of the film's visual motifs, and it became a subject of deep analysis in both academic circles and popular media. The film's nuanced portrayal of its protagonists also resonated strongly with younger audiences, who were beginning to demand more complexity and authenticity from the films they loved. The days of the stereotypical action hero were slowly fading, and Bullet Train Explosion was at the forefront of this cultural shift. At its core, Bullet Train Explosion explores the idea of survival, not just physically but emotionally and morally. It asks profound questions about loyalty, trust, and the cost of our decisions. As Takaichi and Kiyomi fight their way through this chaotic environment, they must also confront their pasts, realizing that the biggest battle is not with the external threats around them, but with the personal demons they carry. The bullet train itself, a symbol of modernity and speed, becomes a metaphor for the characters' lives, racing toward an inevitable destination, with no way to slow down and no clear way out. Beyond its narrative depth, the film's technical achievements are a marvel. The action sequences are expertly choreographed, blending martial arts with innovative stunt work that feels both grounded and cinematic. Each fight scene is a carefully crafted dance of movement and emotion, where every punch, kick, and leap has weight and meaning. The film also excels in its use of sound design, with the constant hum of the train creating a sense of relentless motion and tension, while the score amplifies the emotional beats. The music, with its mix of orchestral swells and electronic pulses, matches the high-stakes energy of the narrative while subtly underscoring the film's emotional undertones. The impact of Bullet Train Explosion on the action genre cannot be overstated. It redefined what audiences expect from a film that prides itself on spectacle. It showed that an action thriller could have more than just adrenaline. It could have heart, meaning, and substance. The way the film blended action with introspection set a new bar for filmmakers and elevated the genre as a whole. It challenged the status quo, proving that you don't have to sacrifice emotional depth for excitement or complexity for spectacle. Bullet Train Explosion became a cultural touchstone, one that inspired filmmakers and action fans to look beyond the surface of action movies and appreciate the deeper themes at play. The film's success wasn't just confined to the box office. It earned accolades from critics and audiences alike, winning awards for its innovative cinematography, strong performances, and narrative bravery. Bullet Train Explosion became a touchstone for future filmmakers, setting a precedent for how to balance action with emotional resonance. The film's influence continues to be felt, with many subsequent movies drawing inspiration from its groundbreaking style, character complexity, and thematically rich storytelling. It reshaped the landscape of modern cinema, reminding filmmakers that emotional depth and thrilling action can coexist in a way that enhances both. As time goes on, Bullet Train Explosion remains a film that stands the test of time. It is a movie that continues to captivate audiences, spark debates, and inspire new generations of filmmakers. It is a reminder that great films don't just entertain. They provoke thought, elicit emotion, and leave an indelible mark on culture. Its legacy is secure, and its place in cinematic history is well-earned. If you love this breakdown, give the video a thumbs up and subscribe for more deep dives into the world of cinema. Let's keep exploring movies together. Bullet Train Explosion stands as a testament to the power of combining heart-stopping action with rich, character-driven storytelling. It is a film that defied expectations and set a new benchmark for its genre, proving that action films don't have to sacrifice substance for spectacle. Its enduring popularity, cultural influence, and critical acclaim ensure that its place in cinematic history remains secure. As time passes, it will continue to be a touchstone for filmmakers, a cherished experience for audiences, and a reminder that, even in a world racing at breakneck speed, there is always room for meaningful connections, deep character exploration, and the kind of storytelling that transcends the limitations of its genre.